Hi, this is Daniela, and welcome to Bestie Life, the podcast, where we help you stop burnout now. If you're tired of running on empty, juggling all the things, and wondering when your life is supposed to feel better, you're in the right place. This show is your go-to space for real talk and practical strategies to help you protect your energy, create balance, and actually enjoy the life you're working so hard for. You'll get a mix of solo episodes and honest conversations with guests. My goal is to help you feel less alone, more empowered, and way more in control of your time and energy and well-being. So let's get into it. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, where I talk about all things burnout prevention, balance, and what it really means to take care of yourself without losing your edge. And today we're going to talk about something that gets misunderstood, I feel like, all the time, and that's the idea of work ethic. Because somewhere along the way, having a good work ethic got confused with working yourself into the ground. People are wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor. Like if you're not hustling 24/7, if you're not busy, then you're not serious about your goals. But that's not work ethic. That's imbalance. And it's why so many hardworking professionals, high achievers end up burnt out, resentful, or just flat out tired of trying. So let's redefine what real work ethic looks like and help you have one that's built on priorities, intention, and boundaries. So grab something to write with, grab your favorite bevy, and let's dive in. So let's talk about first why hustle isn't necessarily an honor. We've been taught that having a good work ethic means, unfortunately, always being available, saying yes, showing up early, staying late, never dropping the ball. I know this was definitely instilled in me by my dad growing up, some of the places I worked, that was the culture. That was the goal. And sure, while there's value in being reliable and consistent, because those things absolutely matter, the part that we forget is that work ethic isn't necessarily just about your effort. It's about your effectiveness. It's about knowing what actually deserves your time and what doesn't. Having priorities, which I'm sure you've heard me talk about before. So if your work ethic is based on fear, fear of missing out, fear of disappointing people, fear of being judged, then it's not really a work ethic anymore. It's just people pleasing packaged up as work ethic. Because real work ethic, it's not going to be about constantly feeling like you have to prove yourself. It's about really being intentional with your energy so you can truly deliver quality work, not just the quantity of all the things you do and ticking off all the boxes and everything like that, but really, being committed to the things you're doing and not just being consumed by all of these tasks. So when it comes to starting to reframe that, let's talk about the role that your intention plays. Because when you bring intention and as well as attention to your work, you stop operating on autopilot. You're really present and you are able to start asking, why am I doing this? What's the purpose behind this effort? And does this align with my bigger goals? So you're not just going through the motions, doing all the things, maybe doing everything, but being really zeroed in and focused on the things that actually matter. And it's not about necessarily even working less. It's about really having that focus and clarity then on the things you're working on. For an example, you might spend 8 hours grinding through tasks that don't necessarily have any specific purpose or move the needle, or spend 4 hours on what really matters towards achieving your goals and have twice the impact in a shorter amount of time. And that's not necessarily anything to be judged as laziness. That's smart. And that's sustainable. Sometimes we can lose the forest through the trees when it comes to, maybe doing all the research, going down certain rabbit holes, thinking we need to focus on all of these little details. I think of sometimes when it comes to weight loss or fitness, it's really easy to get consumed by all the information that's out there rather than just kind of locking in and spending, an hour doing the actual thing. That's going to help you be more successful than some of those other outside tasks when it comes to gathering information, buying the outfit, all those kind of things, rather than just taking the time to do the thing. And when you work intentionally, you're going to find you're not only going to be happier because you're actually moving towards the goal, you actually create space for everything else that matters in your life too, whether it's rest, relationships, creativity, all those other kind of things, because you've taken the action intentionally in order to achieve what you're working towards. And you kind of stop chasing that busy, which is constantly just doing all sorts of things, and you're prioritizing what's better, what's necessary. And then the last part, talking about my favorite B word, boundaries. Boundaries are actually a big form of work ethic. And, a lot of times people skip this because this can make you feel the most uncomfortable. This can be an area people avoid because they don't think of boundaries from a positive standpoint. And as I've said before, boundaries aren't necessarily walls, they're filters. They protect your time, they protect your focus and your energy so you can keep doing the work you care about and do it well. Having good boundaries doesn't mean you're uncommitted. It means you're disciplined. You're just realistic as well, because you're saying, I can't give 100% everywhere, so I'm going to be intentional about where I do give that 100%. And here are a few examples of boundaries that can really support your work ethic, such as not answering emails after hours, saying no to projects that either don't align with your priorities or don't fit in your current kind of time allowance right now, protecting your focus instead of being available 24/7, and taking breaks, not because you're weak or lazy, but recovery is part of a performance plan. It's part of a success plan, and we need to continue to be intentional about giving ourselves that space and grace throughout our day. Think about it. Professional athletes rest. They have a rest day every single week. Musicians rest their voices in between performances. Even machines need downtime to recharge. We're recharging our phones all the time. Why do we expect ourselves to be any different when it comes to requiring and needing that daily rest and recharge? And so when you have strong boundaries, you're showing respect to your own capacity, and people start respecting it too once you make it very clear what that boundary is. So let's connect the dots, okay? You have the intention and intention to the task and activity. You have the priorities of knowing exactly what you're going to focus on, even for a shorter amount of time. And then you're going to have the boundaries to protect your space and your energy when it comes to doing that. The thing is, we talk about all these different things. In general, you can't have a healthy work ethic, a healthy work-life balance, work-life harmony, if you don't know what matters most to you. And every yes you give is a no to something else, whether it's to your health, your family, your peace of mind. But when you're clear on your priorities, it becomes so much easier to make better choices and protect that time and energy and really start living the life and the lifestyle that you want, that is important to you and that you value. That's part of the goal of what you're working towards. So instead of trying to do everything, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. What actually deserves my energy right now? What can wait? And what no longer fits the life that I'm building? Because when you lead with your priorities, your work ethic becomes sustainable and you show up fully for what matters and you really let go of the noise that doesn't. So I want you to remember, having a strong work ethic doesn't mean you have to grind every day until you break. It means showing up when it counts, keeping your promises, and doing what you'd said you do and do it well. It also means respecting your limits, taking care of yourself so you can show up for the long term. Our goal isn't to burn bright and then burn out. The goal is to create a rhythm and life that allows you to shine consistently, because consistency, not chaos, is what's going to build that long-term success. So the next time you hear someone say they've got a strong work ethic, I hope you think of it a little bit differently, because it's not about how much you do, it's about how you do it. Again, with that intention, attention, clarity, and those boundaries. Because real work ethic is sustainable. It's steady. It allows you to thrive in your work and life and have that harmony and balance that you're looking for. If this episode hits home for you, please share it with someone who's been running on empty. If you want to find out a little bit more, let's hop on a free call and look at what this can look like for you. What areas are you truly nailing it in? And how can we help you set up a system that is sustainable in your life to create that healthy work ethic? And as always, thank you for listening, taking care of yourself, protecting your energy, and remember, balance isn't about doing it all. It's about doing what matters most. Thanks again, and talk to you soon. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you got something out of this episode that really made you feel seen, supported, or just a little bit more grounded. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're up for it, please leave me a 5-star review. That will help more people find the show and join this community. I'll leave you with 2 of my favorite quotes. Alone we may be strong, but together we're stronger. And when we support each other, incredible things happen. So let's keep showing up for ourselves and each other, and maybe even have some fun while we're at it. I'll talk to you soon.